Good morning, Bucknutters. Welcome to the Bucknuts Morning 5 here on June 1st, 2018. Yes, welcome to the month of June, Bucknutters. I am Dave Biddle, very happy to be joined by Jonah Booker for his usual Friday visit. J-Buck, great to talk to you as always, my friend. How you doing this morning?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me again.
Oh, it's always a pleasure. If I didn't have you, everybody would tar and feather me because they demand J-Buck, but I wouldn't have it any other way. All right, Bucknutters, on today's show, J-Buck and I are going to talk about Ohio State's defensive ends, and we're going to keep doing that. This show is all about the Buckeyes' defensive ends. We're going to do a deep dive. Now, the Buckeyes have, I don't think it's even debatable, the best defensive end in the country in junior Nick Bosa. They also have a rising star in Chase Young, and I like Jonathon Cooper as that third D-end, J-Buck, and he might even push Young to that starting job. That's what they were saying in spring, that it was still unsettled. So I love the top three. My question to you is, do the Buckeyes have enough depth at the defensive end position this year?
I don't think they have enough depth right now. They're going to have to continue to develop it. I know there's talk about kicking Cornell outside, him dropping some weight, he providing that depth there, and then having a couple of the freshmen that's coming in, having them try to jump into that 2D. So I'm a little concerned about the amount of bodies that they have there on the defensive line when it comes to the end position. Obviously, whenever the game is out of hand, you want to get Chase Young and you want to get Bosa out the game. Now, one thing that could be interesting is they could fool around and kick Draymond Jones outside and have him play a little defense end because he has that first step and the ability to do it. So that's something to keep an eye on. I think they kind of messed up their numbers in the past couple of recruiting classes when it came to how many defensive ends they should have taken in those classes. And because of that, I think you're starting to see the effects of that with the lack of depth. But, boy, is that those top defensive ends, they are tremendous. So you're looking at potentially double-digit sack guys there when it comes to the starters.
And you mentioned Draymond Jones could play outside. That was going to be my next question for you. And I know they love him at D-tackle, and he's going to be able to play all three downs. He's going to be out there in the rushman package. But, yeah, talk more about that. Obviously that means someone else has to come in at D-tackle, but that's okay. They have really good depth at defensive tackle because they have Draymond Jones. They have Robert Landers. And they got a bevy of young guys like Antoine Jackson, Tommy Togiai. They're going to have Teron Vincent. A bunch of Devon Hamilton's not even a young guy anymore. He's a fourth-year junior. So they got a bunch of D tackles. So, yeah, just talk more about what you mentioned about, Draymond Jones could slide outside a little bit.
Yeah, the thing with Draymond Jones, with his skill set, you can kind of exploit mismatches with him. He's going to be a first-round guy. I've seen a lot of mock drafts that has him going in the first round of the NFL draft. And because of his size and his versatility, you can kick him outside, and you can even move Bosa back inside. Just kind of mix and match the tandem there. And Draymond Jones, he's a guy that can get after the quarterback. He has an explosive first step. He has the size to get some penetration inside as the three tech. So I look for them to try to exploit mismatches, and those are rare breeds, guys that can be versatile to slide inside and slide outside when needed. And you mentioned the defensive tackle depth there. I feel really good for the first time in a long time that defensive tackle position is stacked. You got some young guys that are really pushing, but my man Bob Landers, the guy cuts through there like butter, a knife through butter on the offensive line. So I'm looking for him to have a huge season. You mentioned Hamilton, having him back from his injury, so you have to feel pretty good about it. I just don't think you're seeing the top to bottom depth that we've seen in past years with the defensive end, but with the versatility of Draymond Jones, it really helps the position.
I love B.B. Landers too, man. I keep saying he's the most underrated player on this team. I guess if I keep saying that, he's not going to be underrated anymore. And I think he's even getting some national pub now. So I think the days of calling B.B. Landers underrated are going to be over quickly because he's going to be rated really high. And, he technically wasn't a starter last year. He'll be, even though he played more snaps than Tracy Sprinkle and played better than Tracy Sprinkle. No knock on Sprinkle, but, Landers is just better, so I'm looking forward to seeing how he plays this year. Sticking with DNs, okay, Jashon Cornell was recruited as a defensive end. At one point he was a 5-star recruit, dropped to a 4-star, came into Ohio State playing defensive end his first year when he redshirted, then they moved him to D-tackle, bulked him up. Then, of course, this past spring, really over winter, he started shedding some pounds, and he's going to, be the backup there, it looks like, as a strong side defensive end. Is he going to be quick enough there? Just what do you expect, even just in a backup role from Jashon Cornell this year?
Yeah, the thing is when it comes to Cornell, you just want a guy that's going to be able to provide you some solid depth, especially when Larry Johnson wants to be able to rotate those guys. You want to have Bosa and Chase Young as fresh as possible coming down the later part of the schedule once we start getting to the meat and potatoes of the Big Ten schedule. So it's going to be imperative that he provides solid minutes. He's probably not going to be, a 40 or 50 snap guy, but when he's in there, you want him to come in there like his hair is on fire and play with a relentless effort. And can he get after the quarterback? You mentioned, will he be fast enough? I'm a little concerned about his foot speed coming off that edge there, how he will be able to handle counter moves coming off that edge, a little different from being inside. That's to be determined, considering he's dropping weight. Can he get back to that elite level pass rusher that we saw coming out of high school? That's something that I'm looking forward to seeing. But overall, you just want a guy that's going to be solid to where whenever the main starters rotate out, you're just going to get someone who's steady Eddie in there.
I would take that for sure, and I think he can do that as a fourth-year junior. Let's look at some of the guys that are going to be enrolling here later this month. The true freshman, Tyreke Smith, of course, is at the top of the list as far as maybe a true freshman that can play right away at defensive end. Javontae Jean-Baptiste, I'd like to see them redshirt him and get him stronger, but who knows? Maybe he'll come in ready to play. Tyler Friday, kind of like a Jashon Cornell type player. He might end up moving to D-tackle, and maybe he'll be like Jashon Cornell, move to D-tackle, move back to T-end. But I think he's going to start out at D-end. Do you see any of those three, Tyreke Smith, Jean-Baptiste, or Friday, being able to help right away?
I see Smith. The other guys, I don't think they're going to be ready yet. I really wouldn't want to see them burning a red shirt for few snaps that they're probably going to get. But I think Tyreke Smith has an opportunity to be in that too deep. I think he can play a similar role that Chase Young did this past season, where you can see him in spot duty, coming in there and providing guys a blow. So I think Tyreke Smith has a tremendous opportunity to see the field. I just think the other two guys need to be developed, and JeanBaptiste, he needs to get bigger. As you mentioned, you would like to see him redshirt. I would too. I think he needs to spend a lot of time with Coach Mick. The guy has tremendous upside, though, and a tremendous frame to add some weight to. And once Larry Johnson gets a hold of him and puts him in his judo class and teaches those guys how to be violent with their hands, I think you're going to have two outstanding football players with Friday and Jean-Baptiste. But I think with the numbers crunch there at defensive end, I think Tyreke Smith, with his skill set and him being a little further along, can go ahead and provide a push to that too deep.
I agree about Tyreke Smith, and I love the comment when Larry Johnson gets him in his judo class. He can punch with the hands. I love that. A couple more things will turn you loose here, buddy. I do think the answer to this question is no, but I'm sure people are wondering, so I'm going to ask you anyway. Could a current player such as outside linebacker Malik Harrison or tight end Rashad Berry perhaps move to defensive end?
I would say maybe. I would say no, but I wouldn't rule out the possibility. I actually like Berry at tight end. I think he's extremely athletic. I know they got Rucker coming in, the highly regarded freshman, but I think Berry can be a nice little tandem there at tight end. Now, you can get some packages to where if Greg Schiano wants to be creative, Malik Harrison does have the body and the frame to line up on the line of scrimmage and get after the quarterback. So you can do variations of sub packages for those guys and just have him pin his ears back and go and get the football. But as far as a full-time transition move, I can't see it.
All right, last thing. If, let's say, as we're pointing out, the depth isn't terrible at defensive end. I mean, when you have a guy like Tyreke Smith that might be your number 5 defensive end, it's not like it's dire straits, but still the defensive end depth isn't where it was last year when they had the best defensive end depth, I think, in the history of football. But my point here is if there is a lack of D-end depth, could it actually be a good thing if it means Nick Bosa is just out in the field more often, J-Book?
I think that you can look at it that way as long as they stay healthy, because if they stay healthy, I think you could see a situation where Nick Bosa and Chase Young are 20-sack guys, meaning I think they can be double-digit guys combined together. Because here's the thing. Teams are going to have to scheme and game plan and always know where Nick Bosa's at. They're also going to have to know where Draymond Jones is at. He's another first-round NFL talent. So what does that leave? That's going to leave Chase Young one-on-one a lot of times on an island. And if you're going to tell me Chase Young is going to be one-on-one a bulk of the time against Big Ten tackles, I think this guy can have a tremendous breakout season, make himself a household name, and a lot of buzz surrounding Chase Young going into next season as another first-round NFL draft pick for Larry Johnson. But with Nick Bosa's overall talent and his skill set and his ability to go inside or outside whenever needed, I see him being a potential 12, 13-sack guy. And it's going to be an absolute nightmare for Big Ten offenses and quarterbacks because you're going to have to pick your poison. You're going to have to be able to have a deep offensive line and athletic tackles that's going to be able to slow these guys down. Now, my one concern with Chase Young is he has to develop more than just the actual speed rush. I know they talked about that quite a bit. He needs to be able to develop counter moves. If Larry Johnson gets him to where he has more in his arsenal than just a speed rush, boy, look out. It's going to be a lot of fun because you're looking at a potential 20, 25-sack tandem between him and Bosa.
Great insights, as always, from Jonah Booker. Thank you very much, J-Book. And just a note out there to the listeners, I will be on vacation the next 2 weeks, but no worries. Dan Rubin, publisher extraordinaire, has you covered. He'll be doing all of the Bucknuts Morning Fives the next 2 weeks. I appreciate Dan doing that. So I'll see you guys a couple weeks from now. Thanks again to Jonah Booker, and you can catch J-Book on Twitter at JBook37. His column on Bucknuts is Outside Columbus. And thanks to all the listeners out there for tuning into the show. Hope you have a great day and a great weekend. Let's hear that Buckeye swag, best damn band in the land.